Good. So as Dr. Moreau said, she's a clarinet player. I am a violist, and Sean, he's our marketing director, but you play trumpet, right? Yep, and he was also in the Blue Thunder Marching Band. So how about I just sort of start with like a kind of a broad introduction of what our program is like, and then we can get into some of the specific things that it sounds like at least the three of you, and if others join us as we go, that would be great too. But we can talk a little bit more specifically, and Leslie and Sean, feel free to chime in at any time. So I guess I'll just start by saying too that we have a couple videos. I don't know I don't know how this looks on your end, but if there's a way for you to click on, there are actually I think 4 music department videos that you can view. So the first one that's there is like the broad kind of overview of the entire program, and then there are 3 separate ones that are specific to the marching band. They all have sort of different things that they want to talk about in those videos. So when you get a chance, and it looks like Sean has just in the chat button, he put a link to where those videos are. So at any time you're welcome to go view those. And so, you know, maybe a lot of the information that I'm about to say is in actually that first video that you might see, but our program is pretty large. Although I feel like it's not too large, it's not too small. It seems like it's just the right size. So it's enough for, I think, all of us in the department to feel like we know everybody, like all the students know each other, the faculty know students by name. So it has I use the word family. It has a family feel to it because we see each other every day and we're very connected with each other. But having said that, so we have about 200, a little over 200 music majors in our group. And we have about 22 faculty. And we have some adjunct faculty that is about that same number. So you can see how it's getting a little larger just as you consider the entire group. But we have at the undergraduate level, and it sounds like so far all of you. So let me just talk a bit about each of our degree programs. And it sounds like we've got a variety here. So Jade mentioned she's interested in composition. Andrew mentioned a bit about performance. And then Michaela, you said possibly music and or theater. So I want to get to those 3 things because we have a lot of exciting things to talk about. So why don't I talk first about the composition degree program. So Dr. Eric Alexander is our composer and composition teacher. And so when you look at our website, you might just get in touch with him, let him know that you're interested in composition, and I'm sure he would email you directly and give you some kind of feedback on what kinds of things he would be looking for. I know that composition students need to submit a portfolio, and so you've got some things that you've composed already and can send to him. I think he would love that, and then he could kind of help mentor you and guide you, towards what other things you would need to think about that degree plan. Andrew, I'm going to quickly talk about performance. You mentioned choir too. So our performance degree, along with our music education degree, is one of our largest degree plans, the most number of students anyway. And so basically for all of our Bachelor of Music degree plans, the composition, the performance, the music ed, the students tend to take the same core set of classes in their first 2 semesters. So even while you're 2 years even, while you're still kind of figuring out where exactly you want to land as a major, you're in this cohort of students that are taking the same classes like music theory, ear training, class piano, all of the ensembles. So, Andrew, in your case, you'd probably be in one of the vocal ensembles like Meister singers or university singers. Jade, you mentioned that you played double bass, so you might be interested in orchestra. Michaela, you mentioned something about percussion, so you've got a lot of options there with symphonic winds, with all campus band, with orchestra as well, percussion ensemble. I think all of you, and I'm seeing I might need to, Leslie, are you able to admit more people as they come and join us, or no? Let's see. And you're muted, so I can't hear you, but
I'm sorry. I can't admit. I'm sorry.
oh,
Because
okay.
I'm not co-host, but you can go ahead and admit them by clicking participants,
Um,
or
nice.
if you.
There we go. Yep. Okay, great.
Yep. hmm
Okay.
And if you want, next to my name, you could make me co-host, and then I'll take care of it from now.
Okay. Cool.
Under if you cover your mouse, and then there's a little more
Mhm.
drop down. It should be there should be an option to do that.
There's an option just to make you a host.
Oh,
I'm going to go back and do that. I'll make you the
okay,
host. Okay.
okay.
Great. Okay.
Uh,
Let's see here. Oh, Sean, do you want to say
yeah,
something?
Jade, I'm going to send you a few links in the chat.
We have a new guest in the room, so, and I'm going to butcher your name, I'm afraid. Is it Kazaya? No?
Hey,
What?
oh, you got it right.
I got it right?
hmm
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Where are you from?
I'm from Idaho Falls.
Okay, fantastic. So we're just, I know it's kind of informal and I'm not putting pressure on anyone. I appreciate you opening up your video. The others, you don't have to do that either. We're just kind of introducing each other and talking a bit about the program. So we'll just do a little sidestep for a minute. And can you tell us what you're interested in or what you play?
So I actually play 7 instruments,
Okay.
and I'm interested in music composition as my major. I went to Allstate this past February, and for the third time, and our conductor was actually a composer as well, Professor Singh, and we sang 3 of his pieces, and I was just like really inspired by his work. And so I've started doing some composing myself, and that's the direction I want to go in.
That's fantastic. So I was just talking a bit about our composition degree program. Jade was also interested in that. And so what I said to Jade was that what you could do is check out our website and get in touch with our composition professor. That is Dr. Eric Alexander. And he's going to be really excited to hear that you're interested in the program, and he would want to, ask you to submit a portfolio of some things you're working on. So that would be the first step that I would recommend. Um, and yeah, we've got a vibrant composition studio right now. And I guess I can speak firsthand because I'm a violist. So I teach viola aside from chairing the music department. And one of my viola students is a composition major. And he's had just a tremendous year already this year. So he's been doing music for some podcasts that Boise State is putting on. So he does the music behind that. He has a composition that he wrote for viola that he just sent it out to one of his kind of dream uh, viola composer figures that is out there in the world, and that individual took his music and performed it on one of his recitals, which is, I mean, just such an amazing thing though, that can work. Just like you kind of dream of like sending something that you wrote to, your dream mentor, and then they not only appreciate you sending it to them, but they perform it in the next month. So he's had some really great success. And then that's just one example. I know Leslie has a couple students, or at least one student who's a composition major also with a lot of success. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Sure, sure. I have a student. I've had actually two students that have been in the composition program. One of them graduated last year, and he is now pursuing a master's degree at the University of Colorado Boulder in composition, and the other is currently a junior in the program. And both of them have had live performances of their works. They have also written computer works. I know one of them is doing a little bit of work on kind of like video game commercial music. So there's a wide range of things that Dr. Alexander covers with the students, and I think it's really nice. He makes them write a little beyond their comfort zone, which I think allows for growth for students. So, for example, if you're a woodwind player like my students, he makes sure they write for strings and piano and other areas that so they learn how to do that, and they expand their repertoire. And so it's a great program for composition. It'll set you up really well for your next step, whatever that may be, if that's going on to graduate school or trying to get out there in the commercial world. So
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Sean?
Keziah, what is your primary instrument, would you say, just out of curiosity?
Sorry, I had to like find a way to unmute.
That's good.
So my two primary instruments are piano and voice. I fancy myself a better singer than I am a pianist, but I get sick sometimes, as we all do. And so just recently I had to miss a scholarship competition because I'd gotten sick. So I like to use them both as my primary instrument to play it safe.
Um, and if we switch around different subjects, we're talking to different people, you'd be able to see in our chat that I did insert our composition webpage link. So you might be able to just copy and paste that. Yeah, whenever you get a chance.
So Sean, I wonder if you would do the same for the performance degree.
Yes.
So for Andrew,
Mhm.
and probably, you know, what I'm thinking too, it might be nice at some point to pull up our advising the suggested schedule. So for each degree program, we have it mapped out which courses you would take in each semester of your year. So if we have time, and if you are all wanting to stay a bit longer, we could go through, you know, what kinds of things would be expected. And you'll kind of see, like what I was talking about, that for most of the majors that we're talking about here today, the students are basically in the same kinds of classes for the first 2 years. And so I love that about our program, because it means that you're with the same, you know, for the most part, you're with the same, I'll use the word cohort of musicians. And so you build these strong relationships with your peers. And it's just been a really effective way to kind of keep tabs on each other, and, you know, make sure that you're kind of all following the sequence together. So I'll let Sean work on that. And then for Michaela, I wanted to talk a bit about your interest in music, and possibly musical theater. And I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, because you might have just said music or theater. But it got me excited, because I wanted to just let everyone know here that we have a new faculty member joining us this coming fall, who is going to be instructor of voice, but also the director of our opera and musical theater program. So there's a lot of excitement there, and our theater department in the School of the Arts in the College of Arts and Sciences at Boise State has always been really great to work with, and we've done a number of collaborative projects. But I feel like now with our own professor and director of opera and musical theater, those collaborations are going to be even more you know, exciting and numerous each year. So I don't think we have anything yet on the website for our we have 2 new faculty members coming in this year. And so I guess maybe, you know, once things calm down and the semester ends for us, Sean will probably be helping, you know, to get those items up on the website, so you can kind of keep tabs on that. Andrew and Michaela, I guess both of you, since you're, well, and Keziah, if you're also a vocalist, it'd be interesting to, you know, for all of you to keep tabs on that new faculty member. His name is Dr. Jeffrey Sapala. So let's see here. I think maybe it might be nice, and I have no idea on time. Well, I could look at my watch. Duh, I just looked at my watch. So we have a few more minutes. And so it might be nice just to, you know, if you have questions, or again, Leslie and Sean, if you want to talk more about ensemble things, let's just kind of open up the floor. And again, just feel very free to just, you know, I don't think we need to like raise hands or anything like that. You can just unmute yourself and ask a question.
I'll talk a little bit about our choir, since we do have several vocalists here. We have 3 choirs in the department. The top audition group is the Meister Singers, and that group actually has done some recent tours to Europe. It's been very exciting. They I think they went to France last summer, was it? And then before that, Belgium a couple of years before. So that's a Julie's, which is a treble voice choir. And there's in those choirs, you have a lot of music majors, music minors, and even some non-majors. Sorry, my internet appears to be
Yeah.
okay. So sorry about that. Where did I leave off?
Could you
The
maybe
top two
back,
choirs.
yeah, maybe back up just a little bit because I think we lost you right after Meister Singers.
Okay, so the next group is the Vox Angelis, which is a treble choir. This also audition treble voice choir, and in those top two choirs, you're going to have a mix of vocal majors and also non-majors and music minors as well. And then we also have a third choir, the University Singers, which is open to anybody who wants to sing across campus. So there are quite a few opportunities for vocalists. For Jade, I don't know if she's interested in jazz, but we do use bass players in the jazz ensemble and in jazz combos, and also, of course, in the orchestra, and sometimes also in the symphonic winds. So there's definitely some opportunities for a bass player to get involved as well. So yeah, but that's just a little bit about our choral and instrumental ensembles. We have two bands as well, two concert bands. The Symphonic Winds is the top audition group, and that's conducted by Marcellus Brown. And then the all-campus concert band is conducted by Joe Tornello, and that group is, again, open to anybody who wants to participate across campus. So, and then orchestra is also by audition. There are a mix of music majors, minors, and some non-majors in that group as well. And then we have our Blue Thunder Marching Band, which is obviously one of the more visible ensembles. You can see maybe a photo behind Sean showing, is that a marching band picture? So they obviously support the athletic events in the fall. Some of those members also participate in the pep bands for basketball and volleyball. And so they definitely do some traveling. Often our teams are doing pretty well. And so they get usually going to conference games and competitions. Trying to think what else. Yes, I think there's a question about jazz.
I can answer that if you want.
Go ahead.
Okay, and I was just going to say to the others, if while we're talking, if you want to chime in the chat, if you guys have any questions. For jazz combos, we have our jazz orchestra as our top group. Depending on the numbers, we may open up a jazz lab band. At least that's the name that we've had for it in the past, and that would be our number 2 jazz group. But as far as jazz combos, we actually really encourage a lot of our students to form their own combos amongst their peers. There's a lot of cool ideas and lessons that could be learned from, it's essentially a startup business for a lot of students for starting their own jazz combos. We've had students in the past start a Latin jazz combo, New Orleans jazz combo, yeah, it's a great way to get a lot of practicing in, a lot of rehearsing in a chamber setting at least. And a lot of our students have been using that jazz combo as a form of income to support their way through school as well.
I have another question about combos. So at my school, as kind of a passion project this year, my junior year, I got together some friends and I kind of formed an a cappella octet outside of our choir teacher, partially because I don't get along with her very well anymore, but also because I just wanted a small chamber group to work with. And so, I mean, it hasn't worked out very well, obviously, because COVID-19 and half of them are graduating, but I'm going to be doing it next year as well, probably. And I was wondering if there's stuff like that where we can create our own like choral combos, not necessarily all jazz, but stuff like that.
Absolutely. As far as an a cappella ensemble, we just don't support that as a department, just because we have a more of a classical traditional approach. But I've been asked from a lot of students about forming an a cappella club or group. I'm not sure if the university has an a cappella club already, but ASBSU is our associate student body, right? Associated student body of Boise State. And they designate a lot of funds towards, they set aside funds for supporting existing clubs and new clubs. And pretty much if you want to start a club, if an a cappella club or any other club doesn't already exist, you basically just pitch a proposal to the student body, and then they review it, and you could have $1,000, $2,000. It just depends, to start a club, or say you have the club that already exists and you want to go to a regional, Northwest Regional a cappella conference. You can always pitch for funding for student travel as well. So yeah, that's very possible at Boise State, yeah.
I don't know if Dr. Klein knows the exact number of students who are in Meisters. There was a question on chat about how difficult it is to get in. I'm not sure how many he takes. I don't know if you have a better idea, but I did provide his email address in case Jade wants to follow up with him.
Yes, that's great. And I believe that Dr. Porter, I should have my schedule handy. I think he's actually joining us at 12:30. So I don't know if you're able to stay a lot, that much longer, but you'd be able to meet him then if you did. So I believe for Meister Singers, which is the premier ensemble, so they hold auditions every fall, and maybe Leslie, you might know this too. I don't know if they hold auditions at the beginning of each semester, or if it's really just.
I think it's just the fall, although they will probably hear anyone who comes in at the semester. If they are interested, I think they would be sure to hear somebody perform and place them if they're appropriate level.
Yeah, good. And in terms of the size of Meister Singers, I feel like it ranges in the 35 to 45 range. And so, your question about how hard is it to get in, since it's the premier ensemble, I think the competition is a bit harder, but I don't think that should deter you from trying. And it probably depends a bit also on, the number of students that are graduating. And so it's a fantastic sounding ensemble, but I have to say that all of the ensembles sound great. So there's not a huge distinction between, from one to the next in terms of, what your capabilities are. So I would say go for it and see what happens. So what other questions? And I see we have maybe a new member. So Gavin, I'm going to welcome you here. My name is Linda Klein. I'm the chair of the music department. I'm joined by two of my colleagues. There is Leslie Moreau, maybe you could wave, yes, and Sean Evans, and he's waving. And then we have a number of students here that we're talking to, and we've just kept this really informal, and I'm welcoming everyone who's joining to just introduce yourself if you would like, so that we can know what you're interested in and can kind of help direct the conversation. So Gavin, if you're willing to unmute yourself, please do.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. Well, a little about myself musically. I play the trumpet for those trumpeters out there. I seen the Boise State college band and jazz band, all really great bands. So I was looking to get part of that.
Fantastic. So yes, let's and maybe Leslie, can I have you talk a bit about trumpet and the band area, and then maybe we can go back and talk more about the music ed program, since there was a question from Michaela there.
I'm happy to do both of those things. So Gavin, we have all the ensembles, by the way, are open to anyone who auditions, regardless of your major. So if you are a music major, great, but if not, you'll probably be playing with music majors and music minors. We have 2 concert bands. I'm sorry, I'm going to close this. Somebody's weed whacking next door. Just a minute, please.
That's perfect timing. I know it always happens to me.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh shoot, never mind. Okay.
Here I come. Sorry, I just wanted to close. I had it open because it was so nice out. But all right, so we have two concert bands. Our top group is Symphonic Winds, conducted by Marcellus Brown, and they're a really fantastic group. They have performed at a number of national conferences over the years and have put out some wonderful sounding CDs. I have played as a soloist with that group, and I hear every semester wonderful concerts by them. Really outstanding experience. And we also have a band called All Campus Band, conducted by Professor Joe Tornello, and that group is open to anyone across campus. And what's nice about that group is if you have a secondary instrument, you can kind of pursue it there. Or if you're a non-major who doesn't want to go to rehearsal 2 to 3 times a week, sometimes that group just meets on Tuesday nights in the fall. So it's a little more easy for someone to fit that into their schedule, maybe. And then we have jazz ensemble. Sean was talking about the jazz orchestra conducted by Dr. Derek Ganong, and they put on multiple concerts every year, as well as the really large Gene Harris Jazz Festival, which draws people from all over the country, well, mostly the region, but also national, international soloists and clinicians who participate in that festival. And so also what other groups? I know that the Trumpets studio has done some informal work as a trumpet ensemble. And were they supposed to go to the trumpet festival this summer? Maybe they'll get to go in the future, because most of those festivals have unfortunately been canceled due to the outbreak of COVID. But that's really amazing. So students get an opportunity to travel. We have 2 trumpet professors, which is really nice at our department. I mentioned Dr. Derek Ganong. He is trumpet and also conducts the jazz, directs the jazz area. And then Dr. Zach Bowie, who joined us this past year as a new faculty member. So both of them are really great and have good complementary strengths for each other in terms of if you wanted to take some lessons. So that is a possibility. Gavin, did you want to follow up on anything that I haven't talked about with ensembles?
No,
Hey,
you
Gavin.
covered it pretty well. What's up?
So, Gavin, are you interested in studying music or just performing?
Performing. I'm not going to like a music major, but I've seen the bands. They're super cool. I want to play in those.
Yeah, and being a trumpet player, you really have a lot of opportunities. It just kind of depends on what you're interested in and what you can fit in your schedule. If you're interested in marching, I know that all the instruments in Blue Thunder are provided. All the trumpets are box strads. We have about 40 box strads in our storage room. And basically, at the beginning of band camp, we all check out an instrument and return it either at the when marching band and or pep band is finished up. And I believe some of our trumpet students can also use that instrument in symphonic winds or all campus band if they choose. But if you also have a nice trumpet, you're more than welcome to sort of, bring that to your dorm room or apartment or whatever and perform on that and jazz and symphonic winds and just kind of leave your marching band trumpet housed away in our band hall. It's really up to you. The only requirement for marching band is that all of the students do have to perform on their provided instrument and not use their own instrument just because, sound and tone quality, all that stuff.
Gotcha.
And Gavin, where are you from?
I'm from Mountain View.
Okay, fantastic.
And Michaela was asking for us to discuss the music ed degree, so I will be happy to do that. I actually advise in the music ed program and work closely with students in music ed. So our music ed program is outstanding. We have a pretty much near 100% placement record for our graduates in terms of teaching positions because the degree is quite versatile. Idaho is a K-12 music certificate, which means that you graduate certified to teach any kind of music in any situation. Now, of course, most people are going to feel more comfortable in one area or another, but you're going to get experiences in elementary general music, in instrumental secondary, that would be junior high and high school, and also choral secondary, junior high, high school. And so the degree gets you a nice, well-rounded experiences. We get you in the schools observing actually in the second year, which is very, I think, unique for some music ed programs. So you get a chance to go to the schools and observe and to take a look and see what's actually happening out there. And then by the junior year, you're actually out, even working with some teachers potentially. And then the last year of your program, the semester before, you student teach your about half-time in the public school in a specific placement with a mentor teacher. So kind of like a mini student teaching. It's called field experience. And then in the final semester, you are 100% out in the schools doing student teaching work. First, you have two different placements. You usually have an elementary placement and then a secondary placement that depends upon your area. So if you're a choral person, then you would be in a junior high or a senior high choir. If you're more of a band or string person, you would be in those kind of programs at the junior high or high school level. So it's a great program. Our head of that is Dr. Lori Gray, and I know she would welcome any additional questions. If you want to reach out to her, I will send it right here in the email. Lori Gray at Boise State.
And Sean, you might have done this already, but this might be a good time, if those of you are interested, to look at our degree plans. And I mentioned earlier that we have it mapped out so that you can see what is expected from semester to semester. So Leslie, you have the screen sharing option. Is that something you want to do? Sean, do you have the link for that one easy to access?
I can go ahead and add for Michaela. I can add in our degree requirements for music ed if you're interested, and the 4-year suggested course breakdown.
Yeah, we have you could link to just the advising webpage, which has all the and things. So on our music webpage, and I'm sorry I can't pull that up. For some reason, I still cannot find the right tool on my toolbox on the bottom of Zoom, but we have it all out for you in an advising website specific for the music degrees. And all of our degrees have a plan that can be accomplished in 8 semesters, depending on the degree. That means sometimes it's a little hefty in terms of credits, but there's always ways you can work with your advisor to tailor that to your needs. So if you need to take a little bit longer to do it, that's definitely possible. If you want to do summer classes and try to make it not quite so hectic for yourself during the fall and spring, it's very easy to do that. And I will say, every student gets assigned a music advisor if they're a music major or minor, and they work closely with that person across the whole time that they're completing their degree. And somebody's asking if any program requires auditions. All of our degree programs require auditions. So that includes the music major, the Bachelor of Music programs, music ed, music composition, and music performance, as well as the Bachelor of Arts, music general degree, and the music minor. So they all do require auditions. At this point, we are taking auditions by video. So if you're thinking about this fall, we would welcome you to send us an audition recording. And if you're not coming this fall, take a look at our web page. I'm sure Sean can link to the audition web page. It outlines what you would be expected to prepare, and you can reach out to individual faculty as well and find out, would this be appropriate? What about this solo? Does it need to be memorized? It varies a little bit from area to area, but all of the degrees require auditions, and most of the ensembles too, but not all of them.
So again, if you have questions, please feel free to either put them in the chat function, or you can just unmute yourself and start talking. I wanted to say one other thing, just to kind of give a little bit of a sense of what it would be like to be a student in our program. And I would say whether you're a music major or a non-major. So Gavin, you mentioned maybe, maybe not pursuing a music major. What I want to actually start with is that I'm thinking of at least 2 students right now who are not music majors, but who spend all day in our building because they feel a connection to the people that are in our building. And so, they're both people who are performing in ensembles but have other majors, but for reasons that I've specifically asked both of them about this, because I find it so interesting that there are people that kind of want to be around us, even if they're not in our discipline for their major. I mentioned at the very beginning that it does have a family feel to it. The way that the students are studying together, the way that they're sort of hanging out with each other in hallways and in the student lounge up on our third floor of the Morrison Center, the way that they sort of congregate before and after ensemble rehearsals, the way that they stay connected when it's over the weekend. So I think there's a happy and vibrant sense of community in our program. And it is also, I would say, at the faculty level as well. So we keep our doors open. We, as faculty members, we are available to our students. We want to see them, and sometimes they just come by to say hi. So it really has a friendly atmosphere, and it feels very supportive. I know all of the different varying various studios have their own studio classes every week. And so we build this sense of community and a support network. And I'm just seeing Andrew, I didn't get to say goodbye, he had to leave. And yeah, by the way, if anyone needs to leave, yeah, I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but I wanted to just talk a little bit, and maybe Leslie or Sean want to add something just about the environment that we create with our students.
I think we're at a perfect size as a department where, yeah, all of our faculty do keep our doors open, but also all the students pretty much know each other. They all brush past each other in the hallways, or maybe they're in the same ensembles or the same courses, but it doesn't have that overwhelming size as some programs may have, where there might be 800, 900 students, and you're meeting different people, different semesters. You really are getting familiar with the same people all 3, 4, 5 years of college, which is nice, I think.
I think another thing that's nice about music, and probably why all of you are investigating this, is that music is something that you feel has touched your life, right, in a special way, and you're involved in those music programs in your own school because you know that. Well, when you take that next step into college, a lot of people that might have been in it for whatever, they focus on something else. Everybody who's in the music department really wants to be there. They love music. It touches their life, whether they're pursuing a major or minor or some other degree. So you share something very special. So even within this very rather large university, you get to know students well, and having that musical connection, I think, is something very special that you all know from your own experiences. And it's great to continue that at the college level. You will make very good friends. You will get to know the professors, because again, as Sean mentioned, it's not a huge department, but it's big enough that we have quite a bit to offer. So there's a lot of variety, but there's also a lot of sense of camaraderie. And my students see each other multiple times every week in classes. They really get to know each other very well. And it's great to have that connection especially if you're coming maybe from out of state and maybe the only person from your high school coming to Boise State, you're going to meet some friends right off the bat.
Thank you. So what other questions? What else do you want to know about our program, or about Boise State, or about Boise? Anyone?
Hi. Do you guys have any experience with this is sort of like an off-topic question because it's not about like music stuff. Do you guys have any information or like experience going through like staying at the dorms, or how like college life is staying on campus?
Yes. So yeah, Sean, why don't you go first?
I know Boise State Housing really encourages freshmen especially to stay on campus their first year if that's possible. It's kind of cool at Boise State because we do have the facilities to offer a lot of rooms for freshmen, but really once you hit sophomore, junior, senior, you would have to find a place off campus just because, yeah, we don't have the number of rooms on campus to really hold freshmen through their senior year, but it's encouraged for all freshmen to stay on campus just because housing has their cool formulas and algorithms that they use to really pair you up with, if you're coming from out of state or like Keziah at Idaho Falls, you may not know anybody at all, or maybe a few people in Boise, but housing has these really cool algorithms and formulas that they use to find, it's almost like a match.com for roommates. I know a lot of students on campus for whatever reason are just paired perfectly with their roommates, maybe if they're in a 4-person suite or 8-person suite or a double room, just depending on what residential hall you're looking at. But Jay, can you remind me your original question just so I can circle back around to it?
It's like having experience living on the dorms.
Oh, just experience in general. Okay, yeah, I lived in 2 different halls, freshman and sophomore year. Experience, you're so close to everything. I think most of our residential halls / dorms are close to the sub, the student union. That's where our cafeteria is. That's where we have a bowling alley. We have just across the street from the sub is the rec center. I just think you're so centered around all the action on campus, where I had a great experience my freshman year living on campus. And then, oh no, is she still here? She asked about if we're under 18. That shouldn't be a problem. Okay. Yeah, and then Leslie pointed out the housing. What I would recommend is go to the link that Leslie posted. I believe you're also able to give priority over, like say, I'm interested, here's my preferences for housing. I'm interested in Taylor Hall first, Kaiser as a number 2, and Morrison Hall as number 3. I believe that's also possible. You can see the floor, the layout plans. Based on my experience, I was initially put into a double room, but just found out I live easier if I'm by myself. So I just kind of stayed in the same dorm, but switched rooms. It's all pretty flexible, I think. If you do live on campus, you do have to also have a meal plan that is required. So you can't just do room, you have to do room and board.
I'll jump in. I think the dorms at Boise State really seem quite nice. I mean, I did dorms as in my undergrad, and they look very nice. There's different options. Now they have different formats. They have some dorms that are more like apartments where you have a common space and maybe even a shared little kitchen together. They also have some that are more traditional, so where you have a roommate and a bathroom down the hall, and so that's there's a wide variety of types of housing on campus. And I think for someone who's coming, for the first time to living away from home, it can be really nice to not have to worry about dealing with cooking. I mean, as you progress in your degree, you may be able to handle those things more, but I think it's a real plus to live on campus. From my own experience, I enjoyed meeting people. I enjoyed not having to worry so much about all those other details. That was one of the nice things about housing. I mean, you have to worry about your laundry, of course, and meeting roommates and things like that, but it's definitely a plus, and I think it will allow being right on campus. You don't have to commute, you don't have to pay parking, which is not cheap, and there's a lot of pluses. So I do encourage you to look into the dorms. They are quite nice. And the food is good. I've eaten in the residence hall dining. It's just actually really good, really tasty, I think. So
I would agree with that.
yeah, we have someone new joining us.
Mitchell.
Wait, Jay, sorry. I was going to say one more thing. if you are looking at studying composition, the dorm that is closest to the Morrison Center, if you think you're going to be spending a lot of time in the Morrison Center, the dorm that's closest is Towers Hall. The rest of the dorms are on the opposite side of campus, closer to the cafeteria and closer to the sub. So it kind of has its pluses and minuses. By being at Towers, you are right next to the Morrison Center, but you would have to walk 5 to 10 minutes if you wanted to get to the cafeteria. But yeah, sort of give and take. Yeah.
So Mitchell, I want to welcome you here. And I don't know if you, as you joined in, you could tell we've got a pretty informal discussion here. We just want to keep it kind of free form so that everyone here has an opportunity to ask questions. But again, I don't want to put you on the spot if you would prefer not to introduce yourself. And I also see Dr. Porter has joined us. So let's do a couple quick introductions. And I'll start with Mitchell, just since you joined a second ago, and then we'll go to you, Michael. So Mitchell, do you feel like just unmuting yourself and letting us know what you're interested in, what your area of study is, and also where you're from?
So I don't know if you can hear me, but I have music in the background. But hi, my name is Jamor. I am from the local area. I'm in Pueblo, Idaho. And I'm currently still enrolled in high school, but I have a big love for music. So when I saw that you guys offer the music, I was really indulged into joining this one because I've been jumping in between meetings, looking around and seeing what you guys have. I personally have been to BSU a bunch. My dad is the IT director of, not the IT director, he pays the bills for OIT, so I have been around. So yeah, I will just personally just type because we have music in the background, so let me just type.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, it was a little hard to hear you, but and I don't think I quite heard what area or instrumental or vocal area you might be interested in. So you can also, if you would like, you can use the chat function, and we can also communicate that way. And we'll hope to answer any questions you might have. So feel free to start a typing. And let's also introduce Dr. Michael Porter. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's so great to see everybody. My name is Dr. Michael Porter. I'm the Director of Choral Activities here at Boise State. In addition to directing 2 of the 4 voice choral ensembles here, I also teach classes, choral conducting and some choral literature, and as well as some graduate classes. The choirs that I direct are Meister Singers. That's our top select mixed ensemble. I also direct Vox Angelis, which is our select treble ensemble. Does that answer the question where we are now? Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? I would like to ask the photo behind you. Can you tell us a bit about where that was taken?
Sure.
What you were doing there?
Yes, absolutely. This photo behind me was taken right at the heart of Paris. Every other year, the Meister Singers, we take an international, or actually all the choirs, everyone who's involved in any of the choral ensembles gets the opportunity to travel overseas. 4 years ago, we traveled to Belgium and the Netherlands, which was really fascinating because it was right at the 100th anniversary of World War I. So we traveled to many of those really important cultural spots. And just a year ago, we went to Paris and Lyon, France, which was just a wonderful experience. This picture behind us is taken at the Madeleine Cathedral, right in the heart of Paris, and it was a highlight of our trip.
Fantastic. So Mitchell, let's see, I don't see any chats from you. So I wonder if it might be an opportunity for us to try again. Let's see if we can hear what you're interested in. And that's okay if not too. So let's see. So for Jade and Gavin, I think you've been listening, and so some of this might start to become. We lost Mitchell, and that's okay. So we've, I think, gone through, since you've both been here, the degree programs, the ensembles. And so I want to just see if there's anything else, Jade or Gavin, that you want to ask about our program.
Yeah, so you guys do like community stuff? I know like the jazz band and stuff goes around, but does like any other bands do, I don't know, concerts in the square or something like that?
Yes, and Michael, feel free to chime in here.
Absolutely, yes. In addition to our performances here on campus, all of our ensembles are very much active in the community. There are, I know, for example, the most visible would be the Bluestein marching band, the Blue Thunder. And then there's also our pep band. They're playing at pep rallies. They're traveling to football games, basketball games, and you name it. I know that from the choirs as well, we perform every holiday season for different events on campus, like tree lighting ceremonies. The president of Boise State, she has often will have different parties that we will often sing at. We're often in demand to sing different things for different organizations as well throughout the year. And I would say that would be the same with the string ensembles as well.
Yes, it is. And I was just thinking of all the number of times that I've seen, we were talking about jazz combos earlier. And, you know, well, I mean, it's kind of hard now as we're in this pandemic, but with our wonderful, the market that happens downtown, we have musicians that perform at the market. And so it seems like our ensembles, whether they're the larger ensembles or the small string quartets or jazz combos, it seems like they're just always out performing in the community. And so there's definitely a kind of, I'll use the word free spirit with that, because we want to share the music that we create. And so our students and our faculty, you know, want to promote all those activities as much as we can. So I see a couple new faces here. And is it Aslin? Aslan, I just recently heard your audition recording. It was very beautiful. Thank you. I am a viola professor. I'm also chair of the music department. So welcome. And who is that next to you?
I'm Olivia Bernal.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi.
So, and what do you play?
I'm pre-audition piano performance.
Fantastic. Great. And so you two are both joining us this coming fall. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And I think for Jade, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, and Gavin, are you both freshmen this coming fall, or will you still have one more year of high school?
So for myself, I'm a high school senior, so I'll be going into the freshman class.
Okay, fantastic. And Jade? Yeah, okay, that's fine too. All right, great. So let's see. Michael, let me just ask you if you want to just sort of start describing our program to the newbies here.
Absolutely. Our music program is a perfect example of opportunities and connections. When you look at a university, if you're looking for a school for your continuing your education into college or university, you can think of two things. You can think of what is my relationship going to be with my faculty members that I'm going to study? Is this going to be a large classroom where there's going to be 30, 40, 50, 100 students into one class where I may not meet the teacher at all, or am I going to get good one-on-one attention from my faculty? The second thing is to think about opportunities. What are the opportunities you're going to get both as a solo performer, but also within your ensembles? Is this going to be a place where for your first, second, or maybe even your third year, you're not going to be able to participate in many productions because there's so much competition? Or are you going to get opportunities right from the very beginning? And I think that's positions Boise State in a great way, because we are the best of both worlds. We get the opportunity to have those experiences that large schools have, such as great ensemble experiences, such as great performances across both the campus and across the community. But there's also going to be great one-on-one attention that you're going to find at smaller schools. Before coming to Boise State, I taught at a university of just 600 students, and we had great one-on-one attention with the students. However, we did not have that great performance opportunities that Boise State can offer. That's what's so wonderful here. You still have this one-on-one attention. All of your professors will know your name. They will know your schedules. They will know you'll have a wonderful relationship, a great rapport with your professors. But you will also get those great opportunities to perform in the top ensembles, big productions, big groups, some beautiful small chamber ensembles that would not be possible elsewhere. So those are the great things about Boise State in terms of performing. In terms of our degrees, we have a lot of wonderful opportunities. The first is a Bachelor of Music degree. That is your typical performance degree, where you're going to be very well versed in all of the mechanics and the techniques and the critical thinking that music offers. There's also the Bachelor of Arts degree. The Bachelor of Arts degree is a more liberal arts focus. And what that means is you will still get a really, really good grounding in music technique and fundamentals, but you're going to supplement that with all the other great things about of academics: literature, science, environmental science, communications. I myself have a Bachelor of Arts degree, and it really served me well because I just had that very curious mind. I really wanted to really broaden my educational horizons. Also, we have a Bachelor of Music Education degree, which is a K through 12 certification. It's a very rigorous but just wonderful program where you will, at the end of 4 years, be certified to teach K through 12 in a variety of situations. And we've had a really, really wonderful placement record with all of our music ed students graduating. We also have a music minor, and that's a wonderful opportunity if you are very interested in pursuing music, but there are some aspects in your life that you really want to focus on more, such as chemistry or history or things like that, but you don't want to have music gone from your life altogether. So wonderful aspects about our program.
And I'm really interested in doing a history major, but I think I am really weighing out whether or not I want to do a minor in music, something along the lines of composition, not necessarily performance, because that terrifies me, but composition maybe, and some sort of, I don't know, music production, at least enough skills to be able to do music theory. But I'm still thinking about it. I'm not quite sure.
Before Michael responds to Savannah's question, Susanna, and for everyone else, I'll paste our advising link in the chat, and you could also see under there what the course sequence looks like for composition or music minor, the credit load, that sort of thing, so you can sort of plan out, forecast your, yes, I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
If you are going to double major, does it matter who you talk to for an advising session? Do you have to talk to both departments that you're majoring in?
Yes, that would be the preferable thing to do, because that way it, makes sure that you're covering all the things that you need for both of the degree plans. So yeah, it's a worthwhile endeavor. And I will say that in the Department of Music, we actually require that advising happens every single semester. Not every degree plan does that, but we find it that important that we keep track of where the students are and make sure they have what they need from semester to semester. So let's see. Should we go, Michael, would you like to talk a bit more about the audition process?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Actually, I want to ask Susanna your question about not sure about being a music minor, thinking about doing something else, a music minor is a perfect way to get your foot in, kind of test the waters for music, because the curriculum is identical to the first few years of a music major. So if you start off taking that music minor and you decide halfway through it, you know what, music isn't what I really want to do, or as a major, I just want to do it a minor, no loss, and then you're on the track. If, however, you go through it and you think, you know what, it's something that I really would like to do, you're on track and you haven't lost any time. So that's a really smart thing to do, is for that music minor. And Savannah,
Okay.
regarding your question about ensembles auditions, for the choirs, we don't have what we call auditions. We have placements, because we believe here in the choral area that if you are a singer, whether you like to sing in the shower, you're a non-major, or you're a vocal performance major, there is a spot for you. So during the first week of classes, you will sign up for a choir placement time. It's right outside the choir room, and it's in the Morrison Center. You can't miss it. And during that time, you meet with me and you sing a prepared piece. There's a little bit of simple sight reading and a little bit of vocal tonal memory, where I'll play something and you'll sing it back. And it's very, very low key. And I also get a chance to talk with you to see what's your schedule like. Is this something, well, you know what, I really, I'm going to be a pre-med major and it's going to be a busy semester for me. Maybe this ensemble would be a better place. Or let's say, you know, you're really you're really dedicated and you've got a lot of time free and you were able to make callbacks to the Meister singers, we can certainly put you into that. So again, it's that first week of school. In terms of registering, I always recommend people to sign up either for Meister singers or Vox, just so it's on your schedule and you've got a place set. After that first week, let's say you make it into Meister singers and you got it on your schedule, or let's say you're placed into Vox or university singers, we can easily make that transition, and it's no fees for late additions or anything like that. Does that make sense to you? All right, good, thanks.
Hey, yeah, go ahead.
I have a real quick question for Dr. Porter. How many ensembles are there for choir? Sorry. I feel bad for asking, like I feel like you already answered that, sorry.
No, that's okay, no problem. That's a good question. We have 4 vocal ensembles here at Boise State, and first of all, any student, whether they are a first-year student or a senior or a music major or non-major, can be in any of the ensembles. The first group, our top group that you see, many of the members that you see behind me are part of Meister singers. That's our select mixed ensemble. We rehearse 5 days a week for 50 minutes each day. We also have Vox Angelis. That's our select treble ensemble. They rehearse 3 days a week for an hour or for 50 minutes. Then there's also university singers. They rehearse twice a week, and that's a mixed ensemble for an hour and 45 minutes. And then we have our musical theater opera workshop. That is, it's a great opportunity if you want to do musical theater or opera performance. What you can see is that there's also different time commitments. Meister singers is 5 days a week. Vox is 3. University singers is 2. This is perfect based upon if you don't know what your schedule is going to be like with work, but you still want to stay engaged in singing. And in fact, I'm going to share with everybody a link here that it's for a little YouTube video that talks about the Boise State Meister singers, and it's just highlights about what it is. And even though it's a vocal ensemble, it can really transcend to all of our ensembles, about the benefits that you get from singing in these groups, playing in these groups, and the feeling of community and home that you can get. I would encourage you to watch that, and it give you some more information.
So Sean, is that something you want to, once we see that link there, since I think you're the host now, is that something, and Michael, maybe I missed it. I don't know if it's a few minutes or something. Maybe that would be a nice little moment for us to review that, that short video. So I'll ask Sean to see if he can pull that up once Michael puts that. Oh, I see the link there. That's great. And then how about in the meantime, I'm curious again, like if some of the rest of you have some other questions, we will do our best to answer them. I know one of the things that we were talking about, maybe as some people were coming in, was just talking a bit about what the environment is like in our program. So I think Jade, if Jade is still here, she might, this might sound familiar, but I feel like it's such an important aspect of our program. And so I wanted to talk just a bit about, you know, what it feels like from our perspective and what kind of feedback we're getting from our students about just what it feels like to be in the music program and a part of our team. So I guess I'll start and then I'll let Sean and or Michael chime in. And then again, just any one of you at any time, if you want to put some questions in the chat thing, or just you can simply unmute yourself, we can, you know, address questions. So what I wanted to say about the environment is that, and I have been here at Boise State for 20 years, which, you know, I think older than most of you by a lot. But it has been just wonderful to be a part of this family, and it's been so amazing to see the changes and developments and just the sense of community that is growing from year to year. And so just, I think from what you would feel from the student side is that you would be entering a program where you are instantly friends with perfect strangers. It's a very familiar, friendly, supportive environment. So regardless of what area you're in, if you're a vocalist or a saxophone player or a string player, there's just this sense of welcoming that we just, I think, just truly feel in our program. And this happens not only because of what's happening in the ensembles and the fact that you're, you know, creating and making music with your peers, but that carries over into the classroom as well. And so as Michael, Dr. Porter was saying, that is, you know, so true of all of our degree programs. When you enter as a freshman, you're going to be taking the same kinds of classes with the other people who are entering with you. And so you, like I said, you instantly develop this camaraderie with the people who are just like you. And so you'll be in a music theory class with them, and then you'll be in an ear training class with them, and then you'll be in a class piano class, and then you'll be darting off to your ensembles, which, you know, you'll find yourself meeting a variety of new people with different backgrounds and experiences. And so I think this question came up maybe a little while ago about what is it like to, you know, be an incoming freshman and experience, you know, living in a dorm and kind of being away from home for the first time. So I mentioned this camaraderie, this kind of sense of family, just so that you know that when you step foot on our campus, or even like in a platform like this, which is so lovely, by the way, to be able to, you know, see your faces and communicate with you and have you kind of see each other at the same time. There's this instant connection that you will feel with the people, and it is a truly supportive and warm environment. So I do see a question here. Can you be in multiple ensembles or only one? You can be in multiple ensembles. So we have not prevented students from being in ensembles. In fact, you know, we can use a few examples here. And again, Michael, Sean, feel free to step in, but you know, I'm thinking, well, we've got some vocalists here. So Michael, maybe you want to start with the vocal area, and then I can
Sure, absolutely. Yes, you can be in multiple ensembles. We do have, we've had a few singers who have performed in multiple ensembles within the choral area. For one obvious example is opera theater and musical theater, and singing in a different, one of the different stereotypical choral ensembles. There's also opportunities for, if you are like I was, who was a trumpet player and a pianist and a singer together, to be in multiple groups. I have singers who are in Meister Singers, but also play in symphonic winds or all-campus band. It requires some collaborative arrangements within the ensemble directors because there are some overlapping of times. However, we work for the best interest of the students and work with their schedule, and we've worked very collaboratively and made those things work. And if I could just go off of what you just said, Dr. Klein, about this feeling of community, studies have shown that the success and retention of a student is based upon that very first 2 weeks of their first year. If they have a good, engaging, and experience where they feel like they are part of a group, part of a family, they are more likely, very highly likely to continue and be retained for the following year, for the following semester, and to graduate. That's what is so fantastic about music majors, because within those first 2 weeks, you automatically have a family, you automatically have a team, and that is, not only is that good for your own mental health when you go off to college and you're in this new environment, but it's also, if you're thinking about your parents might be, oh no, is so-and-so, is Savannah gonna have fun when, be able to make it in college? Well, she's gonna have a great group right away. So it's a good sign of success.
And a lot of students and parents also get a little cautious about, well, if I'm in this ensemble, it's not going to take time away from studies. I believe it was last spring, the average GPA for our music students was something like 3.53, something like that. I think musicians are very capable of learning great time management skills by being in ensembles. And I think it translates into their grades and, yeah, coursework.
Susanna, you had a question about audition placement required for each type of music degree. We have in order to be enrolled in a music degree, you need to pass an audition on your instrument. I believe you said piano was your instrument? Mm-hmm. Yes. So there is that audition to get into any of the degrees here. There are also different, I guess, levels of being accepted. There's being accepted as a music major. There's also being accepted as a pre-major. And what that means is, we looked at your audition and said, man, that person has a lot of promise, but I think that in order for that person to really be successful, she or he might need to take a year of remedial theory or musicianship to get that person up to where they can be successful. So there's I know some people said, oh, I didn't make the audition, I'm a pre-major, oh, woe is me, it's awful. Like, no, that's not the case. We do see a lot of promise, and we just want to make sure that you are best empowered to succeed after having that semester of remedial work.
Thank you.
Yes, and maybe I can just tag on to that. So, if you find yourself in that position, we encourage students to think of that as an opportunity, because immediately everyone who joins the program, whether you're a music major or a pre-music major, you will still be enrolled in lessons. And so that's the opportunity in that one semester to work with that instructor, to get your musicianship levels up to the point. And then at the end of the semester, all students actually do what we call a jury at the end of every semester on their instrument or vocal area, where you perform for the faculty in that area. And so if you're in a pre-music major status in that first semester, that just means that you'll still, be considered, on track for a major, and it's at that jury at the end of the semester that the panel does one more assessment. And I would say the chances in we could do a study on, what percent of pre-majors become majors. It's extremely high. So, it's again, as Dr. Porter said, it's a chance for us to say, you have so much potential. We want to help you get there. And then we strive to just see you through that process. So again, nothing to be too concerned about if you find yourself in that position.
Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome. Let's see, are all performance majors initially admitted as pre-majors? That's an excellent question. And as you might know from, the way the world works, there's a lot of gray area. And so essentially the answer to that question is, are all performance majors initially admitted as pre-majors? That answer is technically yes. Although, the squishy area is that for some of our instrumental areas, we can automatically just know that applicant is going to be admitted for performance. And so there are cases where we just say, you're admitted for the performance degree right now. But for the most part, we have performance majors and composition majors wait until the end of the first semester to actually declare and be admitted into that program. But again, I come back to that kind of squishiness thing that is just a part of life. That occasionally, there are some students that get admitted into that particular degree program because there's just absolutely no question that that's the right fit for that student. So again, the idea here is that there is time for you to figure out what is best for you, and you are in capable hands of our faculty to help guide you towards your success. So I see we have a new member to the group, and I want to welcome Dr. Sarah Paradis, who is our professor of trombone. She teaches ear training. So I'm going to have you just introduce yourself a bit. And then, because I like the way these Zoom sessions are going, where they're informal and we're getting to know each other, I think it's just super nice for us to just go around the room and just introduce yourself to Dr. Paradis as well. So Sarah, go ahead first.
Sure, yeah. My name is Sarah Paradis, and I teach trombone and euphonium at the Boise State Music Department. I also teach ear training and brass techniques. So ear training is a course that all music majors and minors will take, and brass techniques is an upper division course that music ed majors will take. I also direct the trombone choir and work with students in large ensembles with their sectional needs. I've been at Boise State for 6 years, and I love working here.
And Susanna, you brought up an interesting point there when you said about your theory being practically non-existent. That's one thing that too many of students are just so worried about when they come in here about music theory, that I've had no music theory whatsoever. This is going to be awful. I won't be able to succeed. We have a very, very supportive and very organized music theory structure here. There are many of your studio teachers will also be teaching in some aspect of your theory sequences, either in your music theory classes or your sight singing or oral theory, oral training classes. And that is something that's going to happen over 4 semesters. So please don't worry that if I'm going to be so behind. Not only is there a great structure for your music theory, but there's wonderful tutoring sessions that we have with some of our students who are kind of excelled. See you later, Aslan. Thanks for joining us. Who've really excelled well, and it's a good resources that we have. So many, in fact, I would say 90% feel underwater when it comes to theory before starting, but we have a safety net for all of y'all.
Thanks.
Yeah, and I would add to that, just to piggyback on what Dr. Porter said, is we have a placement exam that you'll take as part of the audition that will place you into exactly the course that you need. So it'll meet you where you are and just take you from there along our theory sequence.
And the test can tell when you're bluffing?
It's pretty foolproof. Yeah.
Okay. Phew. Oh.
And Savannah, you asked about did you get my message about the people to contact, about where to get that list? So good. All right.
Yeah, thanks.
And Susanna, if you're looking at a music minor, I'm actually one of the music minor advisors. So I'd be happy to, I'll put my email address in the chat, but I'd be happy to connect with you about planning coursework and that kind of thing.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, sure.
We have a triple disciplinary degree program where you combine 3 different minors. And so I wonder for students who are interested in music production, if something like a music minor, maybe thinking of it as sort of like a music emphasis minor, where we could get some music technology classes in there, combined with perhaps some communication courses, because you would have some audio production courses in that degree plan, and then maybe also some business or entrepreneurial minors. So there's a lot of avenues you could go, and again, I feel like this kind of epitomizes what is so unique about Boise State, in that we're an innovative university, and we want to try to cater the things that we have to offer to the students. And so it's not that every student who comes in kind of fits a mold, right? And so we want to try to guide students in the areas that they're interested in, and in some cases create new degree programs because of this kind of pathway. So go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, speaking of that, you're absolutely right. What Dr. Klein said about all these opportunities to create something that's unique to you. Boise State also offers an interdisciplinary degree program. It's a fantastic opportunity where, in fact, when we have students who are interested in business or music and business or music and production, we would put them in contact with them. And I'm going to share with everybody a link to the interdisciplinary studies program. So you all should have it now. And I think on that, my time is up. I'm going to leave it to you all. It's so great to meet all of you, and I look forward to seeing you all in the fall semester.
What would it look like specifically to be majoring in something while being in an ensemble? So let's say perhaps maybe in Jetta's case, since you mentioned you might be interested in psychology as a major. And so since you're a violinist, it sounds like you would be in the university orchestra. And so what I would say there, and we do have a number of students who are non-majors who are performing in orchestra. And so what that would look like is that the rehearsal schedule alternates depending on what semester it is. So in the fall, the orchestra rehearsals on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 2 hours in the afternoon. And then in the spring, it's on a Tuesday, Thursday pattern. So what we found for students who are in other majors aside from music is that every once in a while there might be a required course that you need where you're not able to be in orchestra in 1 semester or 2 semesters. But we've found that for the most part, the students who are non-music majors are still wanting to participate in orchestra in every semester that they are able to. So, and Sarah or Sean, if you have other things you want to add there. One thing that I have noticed though, before I go on that topic, is that there have been a number of students who are thinking that, they may or may not major in music. They decide to play in an ensemble, and then they decide that they love it so much and they want to get a little bit more from the academic perspective. And so those students wind up being a music minor. And we have just very, very strong students that I'm thinking of right now who are in that kind of situation. So
I have a fun
Sarah, go ahead.
story about it. I have a story about a non-major that ended up playing in our orchestra. And I have it's kind of a long preface, so bear with me. But I was looking at this website at Boise State called Pony Up, which is a crowd fundraiser that we have to help clubs raise money. And like one of my clubs has raised money to travel to LA to go to a festival, and we raised some money to go to Japan this summer, which is not going to happen, but it's like a crowdfunding thing. And I was reading about some other projects in other areas of the campus, and there's like little profiles of students you can read. So I was reading about this nursing student named Julie, I think, and deep in her profile, it said that she played harp. It was like this little known fact about Julie that she played harp. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if she'd want to play in our orchestra. And so I connected her and Professor Purdy. I said, this girl plays harp. She's a senior nursing major. You always have a need for harp. I wonder if she would be interested in playing. And he wrote her. And sure enough, the next concert, she was on stage playing harp with the orchestra. It was just so cool. There's so many students across campus pursuing such a different field, but they have this passion from, you know, their whole life. They've been playing an instrument, and they're able to realize that by playing in our ensembles. So it was a pretty cool moment for us to connect those two dots.
And I'm thinking of one more example. This is Rachel Fry, for those of you who know her. And Leslie, you probably know her too, because she's in the theater department. So she's an example of a student who started off just full-on theater major. And I think it was in her sophomore year that she decided maybe she should audition for the orchestra. And so she started playing in the orchestra. And then it was maybe the next semester that she decided she wanted to audition for a music minor. And I'm trying to remember which concert it was this year. It was maybe the most recent concert. She was sitting concertmaster of the orchestra. So there are success stories, and it is really what you make of it and the connections that you make, as Dr. Paradis just described. So I feel like the world is your oyster, and we are here to help you find your pearl. I don't know if that makes sense.
That is something I've worried about in some ways, like choosing another minor. It's like, what if the classes are really close together, but the location of the classes are far apart on campus, and I'm like Peter Parkering it back and forth. So like if I was doing a history and a music degree, how would that clash? That's something that I'm worried about.
You know, I've never really heard any students complaining about that kind of thing.
Okay.
I think that the university schedule, I mean, it's possible that you might be a little tight getting to your next class if you're in the Morrison Center and have to go across campus, but I think it's definitely doable. I've never heard anybody really talk about that.
Okay, good.
You know, and also the way that they've organized the class schedule, there's a 15-minute pass period in between every class. And they must have done the math to determine how long does it take to get from one end of campus to the other if you're walking. It takes 15 minutes. But then we also have these green bikes. You know about the Boise green bikes, right? That's what I do. If I need to scoot across campus for a meeting and I have, you know, less than 15 minutes, you can just hop on a bike and you're there before you know it. So I would say, yeah, it's not going to be a problem at all. I see another new face here, and I want to answer the question about what's the process for doing the audition for a music minor. So I may have Sarah answer that question, but let's first welcome Dr. Eric Alexander to the group. And Eric, you're welcome to say hi and tell us what you do.
Hi, I'm Eric Alexander, and I teach composition and music theory here at Boise State, and I run the composition program. And I head the music theory and ear training area as well. So if you have any questions about those things, please let me know.
It sounds like Savannah might have some questions for you, because she mentioned she might be interested possibly in some composition. She's also, we talked a minute ago about some, you know, music technology types of opportunities, production opportunities. So you might want to go a little bit down that rabbit hole. So let's come back to that. But Sarah, first, would you please address the question about the process for doing a music minor audition?
Yeah. So step one is there is a link, and maybe Sean, you can share this link on the chat but there's a link to request an audition. And that's kind of the first step to get you in our system, to know that you're interested in an audition. And at that point, you don't have to know like if you're actually going to pursue a minor or a major or just play in ensembles. It's a kind of a catch-all. So you don't have to wait until you're like sure you know what you're going to do. So you go to this Google form and fill it out, give us your information, and then what we do is we contact you about setting up an audition. Typically, most of our students will audition in the spring. So we have 2 audition days in February and 1 in April that just passed. And those students are interested in enrolling in the minor in the fall. But you can send in an inquiry at any time, and we can work to accommodate you at any time. You're probably wondering what the actual audition looks like. So when you walk in, you will have prepared some sort of material to perform for the committee, and all of those audition requirements are listed on our audition page, which maybe Sean could also share that link. So there's, for every instrument, there's slightly different audition requirements. So what you'll do is you'll share the prepared music with us, and we try to make it as low-key as possible. We try to be very welcoming. It's not like it's not supposed to be a scary thing. So you play for us, we'll probably talk to you a bit, get to know you a little bit, ask you about your background, and then there is an oral screening that we do, which is, Susanna, I was talking about this a little bit earlier. It's kind of part of the like placement protocol. So we see where you would fit in our ear training oral theory sequence. So it's kind of like matching pitch, singing back things that you hear on the piano. We try to make it pretty simple. But for any of you who are considering auditioning, if you can go to a piano or your virtual piano on your phone and play a pitch and sing it back and match it, that's a good step. If you can't yet, go ahead and start practicing that, okay? But yeah, so we'll do the oral screening in the audition, and that's about it. We give you a chance to ask us some questions if you have anything, but the main part of the audition is you performing what you've prepared, and then chatting with us a little bit and doing your oral screening. The rest of the audition day, if you do come to the live audition, you get to meet a lot of the faculty, chat with them. We have this like breakfast coffee thing beforehand, where you get actually a lot of the information you're getting right now, and get to talk with your studio teacher, which is kind of cool. And then there's also opportunities for a campus tour, and the placement theory exam that I was talking about a little bit earlier can also take place that day. So it's your one kind of catch-all day to do all these things. If you're not auditioning in the spring, we make it work at another time. We work it out for you. I feel like there's something else I was going to say about that. But I'm not thinking of it. Is there anything else that I missed that any of the faculty would like to jump in?
Hey, Stephen. So we have 2 bio majors that are both saxophone players. That's cool. Do you guys already know about marching band as well? Did you guys, sorry, marching band also has a Zoom session going on, and I can give you guys a Zoom link for that if you're interested. I can also talk about that too. But as far as concert bands, we have our symphonic winds, that's our top group. And then we have all campus band, that's our number 2 concert band. And Michaela, you mentioned something more casual. That would probably be maybe one of the terms I would give all campus, not to demean or take anything away from what they're doing. But Dr. Joe Tornello, who directs the athletic bands, he also directs the all campus concert band. They typically meet on either Wednesday evening for about 2.5 hours, or Tuesday and Thursday evenings for about 1 hour, 15 minutes. So after your classes get done, and that's a great ensemble if you want to develop as a musician, or say you have alto sax as your primary instrument, and then you have a soprano that is more your secondary instrument that you sort of want to be more conditioned in. That's a great developmental group. All campus band it's not audition to get in, but it's going to be a placement audition just to, see how you play. Um, yeah, and then there's obviously Blue Thunder. Blue Thunder has all instruments provided. So if you audition for Blue Thunder and make it, they would actually have you check out either tenor saxophone if you audition on tenor or an alto sax, but everyone plays off the same instrument, which just makes it more of a cohesive sound and a good group. Yeah. And sorry, I'll leave. I'll stop talking, but I'll paste that Zoom link for Blue Thunder's meeting, which is also going on right now.
So let's see here. I would like, I need to circle back because again, I want to connect Savannah to Dr. Alexander so we could talk a bit more about the, music production. She's interested in learning about what kinds of things, if she were to be a music minor, could she take music technology? We talked about, maybe that would be an opportunity to be thinking of a triple disciplinary degree where she could combine music with perhaps courses in the communication program for, audio production, video production, that kind of thing. And perhaps business would be another area, or entrepreneurship. So there's a lot to talk about there. And I wanted to see if we can expand that conversation. And then we will talk more about the music education degree program after that. So Eric, can I ask you to chime in? Thank you.
It's Susanna, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So can you just tell me a little bit about what it is exactly that you would like to do, or what you after 4 years here, what you're kind of looking to do, or where you'd like to be?
So I'm transferring as a junior from College Western Idaho, and I am initially interested in a history major, but I am interested in a music minor. I guess because I feel like that might be a good way to have a backup plan, like a music teacher, possibly have enough theory for that. And I wondered if a music minor would provide opportunities to learn certain things along the lines of composition or music technology / recording. If I could just, I don't know, just some kind of like small business in the background or something.
Yeah, we have, sorry about that. We have a music technology course, and that kind of is a good introduction to all sorts of technologies that you might use, whether you're a music educator or a composer or anything. And that's one semester. And as far as, we don't really have a music production class right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that we're talking about for the future, but at this moment, we don't have anything exactly like that. And so that intro to music class, I think would be good for you. As far as being a music minor and teaching, I think it would be, the difference with the music education is that you're able to have a music licensure, which that leads you to over the 4 years to get a job in a public school. So without that, I think it's hard to get a job in a public school.
Mm-hmm.
Not impossible though, depending on if a district is. I think there are some other plans out there, but I don't know, that's what I would say. I don't know if anyone wants to chime in as far as that, but as far as music ed is concerned, I think you'd also be taking the music tech class if you were to do that for your major. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let me see here. Again, I would just want to let everybody know that if you have questions, you are welcome to either type up a question for the chat, or you can just simply unmute yourself and start talking and we will answer any questions that you have. So I want to give Dr. Rushing Rains a bit more opportunity to you can, discuss anything, whether it's about, the ensemble experience. If you want to talk a bit more about the music ed program, you're welcome to, whether it's about, campus life, what it's like living in Boise, anything that comes to mind. So I'm going to just kind of turn the floor over to you.
Well, you mentioned campus life, and I personally love the atmosphere on our campus. Well, even though we're not there right now, the atmosphere is probably really different right now, but there is a tremendous sense of community at Boise State. And I am always struck by how the students who are, well, if you're a music major, you can pretty much live in the Morrison Center for the Performing Arts. And there's a student lounge area that's on the third floor of the building, and my office is up there. And I have such amusement, but also such pleasure and many sort of heartwarming interactions with students in that student lounge. And I watch how they work together, they help each other, they goof around together, of course, there's plenty of that. But there's also plenty of just serious interaction, music major to music major, and talking about career plans and just sharing a lot of ideas. And I think that's a really important part of the Boise State experience. And I think it's really I think it has a lot of vitality here at Boise State, which I appreciate so much. And also it's sort of a pleasure to just walk through there and just interact in a casual way with the students as a faculty member. A lot gets done that way, surprisingly. It's really kind of cool. In terms of the music education major, I think one of the first things that we all are proud of is that 98 or 99% of our graduates in music education do get placed right out of school. And so we have a lot of Boise State graduates working out in the music ed field in the community around here. And also I would say that our music education program has a really good relationship with the school districts. So there's a lot of positive, productive interaction between people teaching K-12 in the community, and not only our music majors, our music education majors, who get to interact with those music educators in a number of different ways, but also just between our faculty and people working in K-12 education. So those are the things that come to my mind first.
Great. Eric or Sean, anything you want to add to that?
I'd like to second what Dr. Rushing-Rain said about the collegiality and the way that students get along at Boise State. I mean, I went to two different schools in my getting my degrees, and I've taught at another university, and I've just never seen such a tight-knit group as I do here. Of course, I'm also on the third floor as well, so I also walk by that lounge. But even outside of that, even in the classroom, I see a lot of support. People ask each other for help. People offer help, and I just you read things about schools like Juilliard where everyone's like sabotaging. This doesn't probably happen as much as you hear on the movies, but sabotaging other instruments or hoping other people aren't successful so that they can be successful. I just don't see that kind of thing remotely here at all. It's a very supportive group. With my composers, also because they're the ones I know the best. Of course, they've played all kinds of different instruments. They're in different ensembles, but they're a very tight knit group as well. And it makes this school particularly special, I think, because that's very strong here, I think.
So I'm doing a minor, and then I'm also in the honors program and the biochemistry program. So I was just wondering, with taking that many credits, I guess how to balance my schedule, or do a lot of people do that?
It's a really good question, and I guess I would say that some people tend to have an overload in their degree plans because it's a human nature, and it says a lot about you that you want to do as much as you can. But having said that, it's also kind of an investment in your future to be taking good care of yourself along the way. And so I would say that every once in a while, if you need to be in an overload situation, that's okay, but you want to make sure that's balanced with something that is a little bit more manageable. So I guess what I would say there is to just be in really close contact with your advisors in all of those areas and make sure that they're helping you stay emotionally and physically healthy along the way too. So And again, if there are other faculty that want to speak to that, please go ahead.
Well, I could just say that faculty in general are very cognizant of students' health and well-being. And I think if the student stays, if the overloaded students can stay in contact, close contact with their professors, and really keep their professors abreast of their situation, I think that also goes a long way toward making sure that those overload situations can be managed.
One of the first things someone told me when I was applying for BSU, and like I've been coming to BSU just hanging out since like my 8th grade, or since 8th grade, but they, like when I finally got in and stuff like that, they were like, you're gonna want to try and sign up for every ensemble you can possible and everything you can do, but that's probably not the smartest thing to do your freshman year especially. And so I just really appreciated the advice to just take it easy your first year and just do what you can, but don't overload yourself with too many things, I guess.
Thank you for saying that, Stephen. That's really, really good advice.
What about off-campus music? Like, how big is the music scene off-campus in Boise?
The off-campus music scene in Boise is quite remarkable. And you know, Treefort, I don't know if you've heard about Treefort. So there's a music festival that happens here every spring, and obviously has been canceled. But Treefort's been going on, you know, people, maybe 7 years, 8 years, something like that. And it is like, if you know, South by Southwest, that music festival, it's like a miniature version of that, but it brings in people from all over the world. So I feel like that has kind of propelled, the music scene in Boise to a more global scale. But aside from that, I would say that there are tons of opportunities for students to be involved outside of campus. So whether I mentioned earlier, like the downtown market that we have. Again, we can't. I guess it is happening. People are doing curbside pickup for the market, but there, in a normal situation, there are students out there performing for the community, and so I mean that happens every single weekend in Boise, and you see just a variety of our own students out there. There have been a number of times when I've just been, out downtown at night or something, and then I see a handful of our, students from a jazz combo or something just on the street performing with a huge crowd around them. So there's a ton of stuff like that. There's obviously a lot more organized experiences. So a number of our students play with the Boise Philharmonic. A number of our students sing with Opera Idaho. There are other opportunities for other like jazz experiences. And again, Sean, Laura, Eric, feel free to chime in there if I'm forgetting things.
Well, I would just say that some of our students who have been involved in the jazz, there's quite a jazz scene here in Boise, and a few of our students are making pretty decent money on the side doing jazz gigs in restaurants or getting hired to do like little parties in people's homes. I have one student he's graduating this semester. He in particular has done an enormous amount of gigging in the community, and he's kind of a fixture in the jazz scene in Boise. So there's all kinds of things like that can happen here. It's such a vital music scene and art scene in general.
Yeah, I'll jump on that. Clearly in like an LA or New York, you're going to have all your professional orchestras and ensembles. We're also fortunate to have that here, but Boise obviously isn't on that scale of population as other cities are. So we have those professional groups, but we also have a very limited market for gigging. So if I'm a trumpet player in New York City, I'm still fighting for gigs and for jobs amongst the rest of the trumpet population in those cities. Whereas versus here, we do have only a limited pool of performers to choose from, but we still have those professional organizations like Opera Idaho, Boise Phil, Idaho Shakespeare Festival, Ballet Idaho. I know hires a lot of musicians for their productions. Yeah, and it's just, yeah, we're a big community, but we also, I think, at least the students or friends that I know that have gigged around town, a lot of it's just word of mouth. The city is so interconnected where it's just like, hey, I heard this group playing at your house or at your company gathering. Like, what were they? Can you give me contact information? And I think that's why a lot of students, maybe like in Laura's case, the jazz students have been so successful in just finding jobs. Us being in our department, I would say that you may have first dibs on finding a lot of work performing, just because within the school year, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, I do get asked by just people within the community, like, hey, I'm having this event or a fundraiser on this Friday of this month. I need a string quartet, or I need like some background music. And a lot of times they don't know who to talk to, so they'll just email the general department email. And a lot of times I'll just connect them with what type of music they're interested in. And a lot of times the students are the first ones to get those offers, to get those jobs. So
I was going to throw out there too, the 208 ensemble. We actually have our own, and Boise has their own new music ensemble that they play only living composers. And I think that's pretty cool for a town our size. And there's also Opera Elect, which is a group of singers who do new music all the time. As a matter of fact, I'm writing a piece for them right now, a short opera. So they're very much into commissioning new music as well. So there's a lot of, there was more new music going here than I expected to find, pleasantly.
So I'm in like doing choir, but I'm also first chair alto in our jazz band. So is there a way that I could still connect to like the jazz program and get to like play jazz music?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think kind of coming back to the idea that, you know, whatever you're interested in, we want to help you. So it's definitely feasible to be involved in more than one ensemble. And so I would just say that you can, and maybe Sean can put some other email addresses up on the chat so that Brooklyn knows who to contact. So yeah, I would say just, you know, plan on doing what you love to do and know that we're going to help be there along the way to guide you.
Okay. I also just saw that festival you were talking about was rescheduled for September 23rd.
Oh, really? That must be new news.
Yeah, I just saw it
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I have a question because so I am borrowing a Barry sax. I love playing all the saxophones, but Barry has been my new favorite right now. And I've been borrowing that because it's very expensive. So I was wondering, how well is your like borrowing or renting through your school? Like, is that a thing or?
So, and I might not be the best person to answer this because the person who manages the wind instrument rentals for the department was with us earlier at the 11:30 to 12:30 session, but she's not here now. But what I will say is that yes, we have opportunities for students to rent instruments either through the department or through we have a local music store called Dunkley's that they've been a wonderful partner with us, and so we would just make sure that you would have the instrument that you need here.
I have another question. I'm sorry. But for the jazz band, do you have to be a music major or minor, or can just anyone? And then is it kind of exclusive? Like, is that one also a audition one?
It is an audition one, but I would just say go for it and yes.
And Michaela, yeah, it's an audition group. Some semesters or some years we've had a lot of students interested in performing in jazz. So we'll have, in addition to our #1 group, which is the jazz orchestra, we may open up a second group, which has historically been called the Jazz Lab Band. But even if you're not involved in a jazz ensemble, you're still more than welcome to even talk amongst your peers and form jazz combos. Yeah, like maybe Laura might have mentioned this earlier. A lot of our students have found success in just forming their own jazz combos. We've had a New Orleans jazz combo, a Latin jazz combo, and yeah, a lot of these student-led groups get gigs outside of school, and a lot of times those performances can maybe double as a rehearsal time or just keeping your chops up. Otherwise spent in a practice room. And, rather than getting a part-time job at, a restaurant or somewhere, a lot of these gigs have paid well too.
So if I were to sing for like the Meister Singers or something, and then, so how do the private lessons work, I guess? And then also, like, how does the travel schedule work with that?
Great. Laura, do you want to answer that one?
Sure, I sure can. The private lessons, you'll actually be taking private lessons if you're a music minor or a music major. They will be required. And so I am the person who kind of sets everybody up with the individual teacher. There are 4 voice faculty, 2 full-time and two part-time. And so what we try to do is just match the student. If the student, of course, has a request for who they want to study with, then you would let me know that. And I would do my best to make sure that request is honored as long as that person has room in their studio teaching load. But I would say that, our 4 voice faculty, we work together and try to see that every student is well taken care of, actually by all of us. Because we sometimes, especially this coming year, since we're having a new faculty member join us, we're hoping to be teaching together a lot so that every voice student gets access to more perspectives than just the one offered by their particular studio teacher. And then you mentioned travel schedule. Are you talking about touring, or what do you?
I was just wondering if your choir groups travel around for performances.
Yeah, they travel regionally. I'd say, Linda, what, like every other year or so?
Yes, every other year sounds right.
Yeah, and then also every other year, Dr. Porter has been, let's see, they've done 2 of these so far, and they're planning a 3rd one, I think, next summer, I think. They've gone to, the last one was to France and Belgium. And then the upcoming one is to the Basque country in Spain.
Oh, cool.
And
yeah,
so that's, pardon?
I have a friend in the Whitworth choir, so I was just wondering, like, if we were going to travel to Europe, like I know their choir does.
Yeah, so the aim is to do that every other year so that you will get, at least one, if not more than one, international touring experience. And the students have really, really enjoyed those tours.
Awesome.
Do they need a guy running social media or taking photos for those trips?
Well, you can ask Dr. Porter about that.
They should probably bring a composer along just in case they need some.
Yeah. Well, we have opportunities for voice lessons for non-majors. And what you would do is you would just get in contact with me and tell me a little bit about your background. And I would hopefully find a place. We have to, in the voice studios, we have to prioritize music majors and music minors. So they're always the first ones in line for voice lessons. But there are a few non-music majors, non-music minors who are from other areas of the campus who end up taking voice lessons. There's kind of some prerequisite skills like music reading and the ability to, you know, play, sort of plunk out your melody on the piano so that you can practice well. But if you and I can just be in touch about that, then we can figure out something for you and what the best route is.
Yes, I would love that. Could I get your email?
I sure can. I'll just chat you privately and give it to you.
Oh, okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Sure. Nice to meet you, Jasmine.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Great. So what else can we help with?
I think you answered most of my questions. So I've never really done musical theater. We don't really have that here at all. So sorry if I'm asking stupid questions. But so how do you audition for musical theater, and like how does that process work?
Generally, those auditions are scheduled with you know, with the individual faculty member, so the time varies. When we've done musical theater productions or opera productions, like we have done those always in the spring semester, and so the auditions have generally been like right at the end of the fall semester. But since the opera program will be taken over by a new person in the fall, I'm not sure that I can really speak for how he will do it, but I would imagine that it would be either during the week before classes or the first week of classes. There would be some auditions so that you could be cast appropriately in whatever is going on. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then you can audition and be part of it if you're not majoring in musical theater, right?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I will tell you that some of the people that have been cast in our productions over the years have been not majors, and not even theater majors in some cases. I can think of one case in particular where the young man that I'm thinking of, he was an art history major, and he was in like just production after production after production. He became sort of a staple in the casts of our production. He was really talented and really fun to work with. And there, I remember in a leading role, we had a nursing major a few years ago. So it doesn't matter what your major is.
Okay.